I failed this rebuild the last time that I tried it, falling short by 6 points due to an inaccurate pass in our only playoff appearance. But I'll be trying to win a championship with only 1-star recruits again. I don't like failing challenges, so I've come up with a plan, but I'm limiting myself to just 10 seasons, which really isn't enough time. We'll be using Western Michigan, a 1-star program with low school grades, and of course this needs to be done on the hardest difficulty. But to really up the challenge, I made the starting roster as bad as I could, a 62 overall. From here, it's time to try and take 1-stars all the way to a national championship. We're actually recruiting Kevin Hart at running back and Derek Carr at quarterback, but as 1-star prospects, you know these stats are going to be bad. 74 speed with a scrambler tendency, at the running back position 83 speed, and even these receivers, despite being deep threats, are getting 88, 89 at the most. That's going to be one of the biggest problems in this rebuild. I'm not sure we can keep up with the big programs athletically. And from a coach build perspective, I want to max out the tactician tree. I also want to get into this architect tree because there's something called limitless. It gives you a chance to increase random skill caps every time players level up, which is very important for 1-star recruits because they are capped out around like a 70, 75 overall, and that would allow us to break some of these skill caps and make them even better. In order to get the architect tree unlocked though, we have to do 3 things. We have to spend 25 points in the motivator tab, 25 points in the tactician tab, and then finally winning 4 rivalry games. We clearly aren't going to have much success in season number 1, but it does make our matchups versus Eastern Michigan and Central Michigan extremely important. They're our rivals. And besides those 2 matchups, I'm definitely going to be simming everything else. My main focus has to be on bringing in the 1-star recruits. Pat Dalton is the first one we've signed. And for most of these prospects, we can get away with only putting 25 hours a week into them, but some of them are a bit more complicated, and I don't want to lose a recruiting battle for a 1-star recruit. Come to think of it though, I'm not sure any of these guys are worth our extra resources. After losing a player to Kent State who went 0-12 last year, we're just going to ignore players that are tough to land. Like expected, we've also opened up season number 1 terribly, going 0-4, but we're about to play Eastern Michigan, who also hasn't won a game. And this is our chance to get our first of 4 rivalry wins that we desperately need. Throughout these 10 years, we have to at least prove that we're the best directional school in the state of Michigan. But I made this team terrible, and it is showing. We have literally only scored 7 points in this game. If we don't pick up this 4th down, it is over. And these guys just aren't good. We put it right where it needed to be, but it was still dropped. I have a feeling this is the same thing that's going to happen against Central Michigan, but we have to at least try. And our future quarterback, Derek Carr, has committed, but this one is only 5'9". Now, since that's how tall I am, I can't really roast him. That'd just be friendly fire, but he is not going to be good for us. I can tell you that right now. And just take a look. All the 1-stars that we've gotten a few weeks into the year is insane. We literally might have a full class of 35 players by the time we get to our next rivalry game, which we're going to need to have for a few seasons because we only have 5 sophomores and 6 freshmen. I also made sure a lot of those juniors are 1-star JUCOs, which is why we keep on losing, though we almost beat Toledo. And this rivalry series between the Michigan schools is pretty cool. There's a 3-way battle for that rivalry trophy. It's called the Michigan Mac Trophy. We just don't have a chance at winning it. We're at the bottom of our conference, but maybe we're about to pull off the upset. And knowing how the last 1-star only rebuild went, we're going to have some luck on our side if we're going to win a championship in just 10 seasons. This one hasn't gone much different than the other one. At the moment, we're going to be on a 4th down, and it's either touchdown or bust to stay in this game, though we might have a dot if we just hang on to the football. Every pass is going to be a red meter. 2-point conversion is important too, though, and we're going to step up, run, and get it. There should not be any hope in this stadium, but getting them off the field would still give us a chance, and they threw it straight at me. They also just threw us off of them. I really don't believe I can achieve this comeback either way, but if we're going to have a shot, it's getting a stop on 3rd and 4, and how did we miss that tackle? It's not even worth getting too frustrated about, but this is the level of talent we're going to be working with all video. I am going to have to find some methods to develop these kids. And this is where I'm going to put my first coach points from leveling up. We're going to unlock the motivator tree, and then we're going to go in here and make sure our quarterbacks get an off-season training boost. This will make them progress a little bit quicker. Just like that, we've completed our first of 3 tasks that it takes to unlock the architect tree. And we have literally already signed 33 1-star prospects, but I'm holding off on those final 2 spots just in case there's a couple good 1-star transfers. I can play in up to 3 regular season games a year in this rebuild, but I didn't even take that 3rd game because I knew we were just going to lose every matchup. And this is just crushing. Not only did we lose to our rival Central Michigan, but they're inside the top 6. They're going to make the playoffs. Out of pure frustration, I'm firing both of these coordinators. I'm going to try to bring in some other guys. And fortunately, Kent State's former head coach, Aaron Watson, is exactly what we're looking for. He's going to have tactician stuff and also the architect tree available. On the other side of the ball, I was looking for a recruiter so we could scout players quicker, but this is the best that we're going to get. And I'm not even sure it's worth it for us to review the season stats since none of these players are going to be good for us besides maybe sophomore receiver Tony Martin. It looks like in the college football playoffs, Central Michigan couldn't handle Georgia, and I'm surprised that only 2 players are leaving this program. I thought it'd be more than this. The other guys had an option to escape. they decided not to. In the transfer portal, there's going to be one-star transfer that we can pursue. And he is going to be coming in with 88 speed. That's probably some of the best speed we're going to find in this entire video. Only 2 schools are even considering him. We're also adding on another QB. I highly doubt that it's any shock we're going to sign them both, but there might not be a purpose to check recruiting rankings throughout this video ever. We're going to finish with the 3rd worst class, and the only reason for that is because Louisiana Tech and Ohio only signed 4 and 5 players. From the looks of it though, we should probably start to explore having a running offense before a passing offense. And some of these athletes are such low overalls, I'm not even excited to move them to another position. I also tried to look into these player development traits, but Derek Carr and Kevin Hart are both going to be normal. We did find a couple impacts. They were just extremely uncommon, and if I'm able to, I am going to cut some of the original players on the Western Michigan roster that I know weren't 1-stars. However, if I see something like this, a 1-star high school rating on our best player, I will keep him around. And for having a terrible season, we did level up quite a bit, all the way to level 14 with 110 coach points to spend. At least for now, I'm going to make our offensive line a little bit better and also our quarterback play, but that's going to be it because I want to save up the rest of the coach points for whenever the architect tree unlocks. And there's a decent chance we could get capped out around level 25 to 30, so we need a ton of coach points to fill up all these tiers. When it comes to our recruiting strategy in season number 2, it's the same as season number 1. Just get as many players in as we can. I don't even think I'm going to waste time scouting them, because even though one of our 2 coordinators is a recruiter, he'll make the process a little bit quicker. That is only going to be for the defensive positions. It's a bit of a letdown, but our roster did get a tad bit better, so we don't have to start players like Derek Carr at quarterback. And I'm not sure if this one is ever going to see the field unless he starts to have some crazy player progression. Just from the looks of it, he's actually going to be replaced by this prospect as well. EA knows what they're doing with these names. I don't know exactly who Dom Hussein was, but I know that he had to have done something terrible if I recognize that name. Maybe that's exactly what this program needs though. Somebody that's willing to go to the extremes to get us some wins. And please educate me in the comments on why I recognize that name. Now, we did find our first 1-star gym. This is what I'm excited about. We have a gym as a 1-star, 88 speed. It's not terrible for a running back, which is not something that we're going to be able to find that often. Our first game's against Coastal Carolina. And just like last season, I'm going to focus in on our 2 rivalry games, though we're also going to play that FCS school because I think it could be our first win. Before that though, Coastal Carolina is going to beat us 41-7, and we actually lost by less points at ranked Tennessee. Either way, we're still winless. This is the opportunity we've been hoping for, similar overalls. And I've brought out the gold alternate jerseys for this game, which if Western Michigan didn't have and we only wore brown jerseys at home, I probably wouldn't have used them. They'll just be added to the list of all the schools that we've rebuilt. On 3rd and 7, of course we drop it, but we will be faking this field goal, and that is because our kicker has 96 speed. I'm not sure why he does, but we got to go for the first down. How are they able to catch him? Never mind. Is that enough? Okay, it turns out it wasn't enough. The whole reason that kid is that fast is I moved over like a wide receiver to kicker just to make our team lower overall. And he's a senior, so I wanted to do it at least once, but if we just took our points on that drive, we'd have a lead right now. There's about 4 minutes left. It is all tied up, and using our running back, we're about to get a first down. LeVron is just fighting. But now that I'm starting to think about us having a wide receiver at kicker, I'm not sure how far away we can be or else he's going to miss. We should be okay though, as long as we keep on running the football pretty well. It's going to be 3rd down. And that's like the 3rd play in a row where we've gotten 2 yards on the carry. I'm hitting the wrong button right here. I had somebody open. I panicked. I went to hit triangle. I hit R1 at the same time. Now we're attempting this kick, and that's as good as it's going to get. You combine that with a holding penalty, and we are in a fantastic spot, but they just thread the needle. I'm sorry. Their quarterback should not be able to make throws like that. They've also beat our press, so they're going to score a touchdown. And this team's in a bad spot if we're losing to an FCS school in year number 2. Do you really think that we're about to work it down the field and somehow score in 30 seconds? Not with an offensive line like this. It is a terrible, terrible start to the challenge. There's the interception. And they're probably about to return it too, just to run up the score. I'm not proud of this Western Michigan team at the moment. That is why we're just going to focus on recruiting again. But I'm not really proud about the prospects like this guy that I'm bringing to the program either. Until we get to our rivalry games, we know that things are just going to get worse. But you know what? I actually like the effort that we put up against Kent State. We only lost to them by 4. Maybe there is some hope for us against Eastern Michigan. We have the home field advantage. And if our fans are going to show out for any game, it's this one. You know who didn't show out for the first 3 quarters though? Our entire team. We just scored our first touchdown a second ago. We're trying to get another. And Gibbs is going to have to become a little bit more accurate. He didn't have a chance. That's the type of stuff we experienced in this game. It's no shock that we lost. And the week after, Buffalo's going to double our score. Considering Central Michigan made it to the playoffs last year, even if they're only 4-3, I'm not feeling good playing on the road. And at this rate, it'd be nice to just get one rivalry win. We're about to go 0 for 4 in this video, though there could be some hope for us in this game still. There's a flag, and it looks like it's going to be against our rivals. If we are going to come back down by 14 with 2 minutes left on the clock, that is what we're going to need, though they're getting a hand on the ball. And I'm not sure why I'm expecting Gibbs to be able to throw it downfield at all. Nobody can even get open versus man-to-man coverage, so we needed to see some zone, and we got hit so hard that they just get the ball out of it. That's some elite penetration. Central Michigan gets the win. But do you know where Western Michigan's been taking their wins off the field? 32 1-stars have been signed. Now, I could make a decision right now to fire Matt. I want to see if we can get a recruiter defensive coordinator. But the grass is not always greener on the other side. This is the best I've been able to find so far, and he's a step down from what we have. Now, just taking a look over at the conference standings, it seems like Ball State won the MAC. And I'm not upset that Shaquille Gibbs is a senior quarterback. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Rushing-wise, we averaged 3.3 yards per carry, and we did not have any good receivers. We also never got any better coordinator options. Nobody wants to come here, so we had to settle for Cade Kane. Part of my plan to win us a championship in 10 years involved us getting a recruiter coordinator in the first 2. So this is not a good start to my redemption run at this challenge. Tyshawn King, the kid that transferred in, also is leaving us. He isn't the only one, though. I'm pretty sure we had over 30 players that just graduated. And I saved a few spots just in case the transfer portal had 1-stars this year, but it clearly isn't worth it. We're just going to sign a few athletes instead, because those could be big for us as we get closer to the end of the rebuild. And I know it's going to be possible to get a 1-star with star or elite development, but it is so rare because even the gym that we had only had impact. This year, it is official. We had the worst class in the country, but Eastern Michigan is not far away. We're going to be able to beat them in a few seasons. And I've already picked up on something that could help us right here. If you recruit a left or a right end that is a run-stopper tendency, when you move them to defensive tackle, they go up by 2 overalls, which we're going to gladly take. We are currently in desperate times. Our team overall doesn't seem to crack above 70, though we do have one player 10 overalls better than everybody else in 86. Connor was on the original Western Michigan roster, but he is a 1-star prospect, so we've been able to keep him around. And he's really an 81 overall without tactician boost. That is why it's going to be so important that we fill up all these eventually. You might notice, though, that we only leveled up 1 more time this year, and we need a lot of coach points for the rest of this still. So it's going to be tough to decide what to prioritize, but looking at our roster size, we're up to 83 out of 85. We currently only have 9 players that are seniors and 3 players that are juniors, 65 freshmen, so we're going to have to take it light for the next couple classes. And I guess we can scout the players that we're going after a little bit more, but they're going to have stuff like 81 speed. Looking at our quarterback room, though, we have a senior quarterback that's the same overall as Derek Carr, so Derek Carr is going to get the start. And I actually think that instead of trying to recruit running backs, we're just going to recruit wide receivers, and then if they're a little bit faster, move them over eventually. The other way to get faster running backs, though, is the athletes at those positions. I just can't put them at any other spot on the field. We've also found another gym. This guy's a corner, and look at George Hunter at quarterback. These are the best stats we found on a 1-star yet. Since most offensive positions still cost 50 hours to scout, I didn't get to scout many players, but that's why I want to find a maxed out recruiting coordinator. Looking at our schedule at the moment, we're probably going to play the same 3 games we did last year: Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, and against an FCS school. If we somehow win any of these other matchups in Sim, it'd be incredible. But we haven't even gotten that first win yet, and getting destroyed like this, it's not looking like it's coming any closer. Just like last week, we're going to have to play on the road again at an 80+ team. But somehow, we have taken down Miami, Ohio. We have won our first game, our first conference game. They only scored 14. Derek Carr did not play well either. 2 interceptions. Did we run the ball well? Not really. And we could be above 500 if we find a way to take down the Pandas. After that last result, I'd hope that we could beat them too. But we find ourselves down by 8 with 5.5 minutes left, and this one will be brought in. That's what we want to see out of Derek Carr. We also are going to hit our tight end to get another first down. But it just hit me. We need to be recruiting a receiver that's like 6'5", so we can throw some jump balls up to him. Is that another Hussein? Evidently it is. The Western Michigan program cannot escape them. On 3rd and 3, he didn't get it. And I almost think I'm going to regret going for it on 4th down, since we could have just kicked the field goal. Yeah, we're not getting it over his head. The drag probably ended up being open too, despite there being somebody in that area originally, though they're not getting this 3rd down. And there is hope that we could start this season with 2 wins as we complete the pass. This is the level of play that we've got to have if we're going to beat our rivals this year. But I just feel like our receivers are going to have to get better first. We didn't get it out in time. I really don't know where to throw it. Staring down one route is not going to work with this team. We have a chance at catching this at least. but they're going to catch it, and if they get this back to field goal range, we're going to have no opportunity. All right, well, we know that we should be able to get the ball back one final time, but I really don't see how that's going to help us. We are going to have to still stop them. We do. It's just there's no way we move this ball all the way down the field, especially if that goes out at the 1. Well, 99 yards is not going to be easy to achieve. I don't know if we can hit the seam. And this is where it would be nice to have a 6'5" receiver out on the outside, even if they weren't that fast, because we know I can make some aggressive catches, just not here. The main problem is we're not going to find anybody in this video over like 89 speed. So I think we're going to rely on a rushing offense instead. But this is exactly why I struggled the last time that I tried this challenge, and I somehow have not gotten any better at the game. We are performing better in sim though. We just beat Colorado State despite them being like 15 overalls better. And we'd probably be better off in this rivalry if I just left it up to sim. I still trust myself more though. It's the only thing that's worth playing for, so we can unlock the architect tree. And there were some valuable lessons I learned from that last matchup that have allowed us to keep this one tighter. That could have been a big run. But the problem is he's already suffering -6 speed due to wear and tear. Even though we're better at running the ball than throwing with this team, that's why we tend to go away from it. And on 3rd and 2, they are going to be ready to stop us. That's really going to affect our chances in this game because they took a lot of time to get a field goal against us. We're missing. And here we go. Big 4th and 10. Will Derek Carr clutch up? No. It's simply just going to be another loss to Eastern Michigan. And you know what? I'll take our chances. I'm simming the rest of the year, including against Central Michigan. The only thing I'm going to be worrying about is trying to find some faster receivers that we could use. 89 speed, 6'3", that might be the best we get. Never mind though, I feel like I've pushed everything to the limit, finding a 90 speed receiver and then a 93 speed receiver. Cameron Killings might be the best one we find the entire video. As we approach the game against Central Michigan though, we are going to be sitting at 2-5. And let's just hope that Sim does its magic since they're an 84. Well, at this rate, we're never going to come close to unlocking the architect tree. And things only got worse for us as we just got destroyed by about everybody else. It is hard to sit here and say we have a positive outlook in these final 7 seasons, because we really don't, but I don't think we can fire our offensive coordinator. He is the only bit of architect that we have unlocked at the moment. For the 3rd year in a row though, we're going to be looking for a defensive coordinator. And I just know that we're getting messed with right now because Nathan would be the perfect fit, but he's probably going to accept the offer from Purdue. I take that back. We have found the recruiter that we have desperately been searching for. And let's see if he can scout all positions. He is going to be able to do so. This is perfect. That's the first thing that's gone our way. I'm also going to point out we had a team from our conference, Ball State, make it to the playoffs. And they were able to do it with a few losses. Now we are going to be losing our best player to graduation, 81 overall without those tactician boosts. But it didn't feel like we had a good offensive lineman whenever we were in the pocket. Derek Carr threw twice as many interceptions as touchdowns. Our running back only had 2 rushing touchdowns. He's gone. And then receiving wise, 2 600-yard receivers. It's a shame that Tony Martin really wasn't any good for us either. He had Silver Shifty. And I'm not even upset the receiver's gone because I think one of these 3 guys, especially Cameron Killings, could be a better player. It looks like since there's no 1-star transfers, we're done with our class, just 13 players. And every single one of them is going to be normal development besides the 2 gyms that we were able to find. I will say though, we might be onto something finding some good 1-stars because George Hunter as a freshman is going to be a 67 overall quarterback. But it's going to take me a lot to put him in over Derek Carr considering he's a 74 overall now. Also, we have a 90 overall rusher. Yes, we just got the luckiest training result possible. In reality, we had him as a speed rusher outside linebacker, then moved him over to left end. This is going to be our strategy with athletes to hopefully get some better players because they max out the stats whenever you change them over like 99 tackle. And if we can get a player or 2 like that every year, we might be able to handle this schedule a little bit better and hopefully make it to a bowl game. Now here's the thing with sophomore quarterback Derek Carr. We already know that he's short and his accuracy is about 80 throw on the run, 70 deep accuracy, which in comparison to George Hunter, the kid that we just brought in, is actually a little bit worse. But the problem with him is his accuracies are already fully capped out. That is exactly why we need this architect tree unlocked so badly. We have just made 0 progress. And I should note, in my plan, our season 4 class does not matter at all, but our season 5 one is the most important one because that's going to be the base for our hopeful championship run. That is why I am so frustrated that I just found 2 incredible quarterback prospects. It at least gives me hope in the future that we're going to be able to find more, but it is annoying. And basically, the other few players we're going to go after are just athletes that could play either running back for us or linebacker. I'm also not sure if I've mentioned it or not, but basically every season, if they're a true freshman, they're getting redshirted. That includes George Hunter, which shouldn't be too big of a deal, and I actually trust this team to win this game in sim more than myself. That is exactly what we do, 31-0, though both Charlotte and Iowa are going to beat us, and Central Michigan we have to play on the road is ranked in the top 25. I don't know about you all, but it is starting to seem like we are never going to take down our rivals. This season, they're an 83 overall. And I'm just hoping that this one is at least close. Well, with 7 minutes left, we are only down by a possession. That is manageable. We're also breaking the tackle. And Shoemaker was also supposed to be a running back that we moved over to tight end. He's been incredible. When it comes to one-star recruits, athletes are the best thing that we can go after. Derek Carr puts it on the money. And the longer that this drive goes on for, the better that I'm feeling. It is 3rd and 8 though, which is a little bit concerning. We're going to take our drag. We're going to make it 4th and manageable. And we are going for this. We're going to have to catch it. We don't. I mean, it didn't take us very long to get it back. We actually might have a touchdown on this play. No, we're short. But it's just frustrating how incapable this team seems of making the easiest plays. We're not going to be able to get any rushing yards there, though we should be able to just punch it in. And I'm going right back to that concept. It spreads the defense out, which allows us to be short. All right, now the pressure is on. We've got to get a stop versus them. That was out of reach. And I feel like it's going to be extremely difficult for us to stop the run. I didn't think they'd break off one right here, though. We got to catch him or else this game is over. We might just not be capable of getting a stop. I don't know where that dude came from, but that was a miracle. They had a lane to the end zone and I've clicked off, which didn't really make a difference. I put up the best fight that I could in this game, but it's not going to matter. They have a 2-possession lead and we have had literally zero luck throughout this series. I know that I did this team no favors, making it as bad as I could before we even started. There might somehow still be a little bit of hope for Western Michigan though. We scored 14 points in the 4th quarter to beat Bowling Green. And like expected, we have signed every single 1-star that's on our board. I also decided that I was just going to keep on simming more weeks into the future. We beat NIU, but if we don't win our final 3 games, then we're not going to be bowl eligible. And that was never the expectation for this season, but we might as well try and make it happen. We might still be sitting near the bottom of the MAC, but we can turn things around. Or we could lose to Akron, which would make things even worse. I just don't think we're going to have what it takes to take them down. At the moment, they're up by 8 points, which is such an annoying deficit to face off against. The drag will get us the 4th down, but we have a lot of work to do still. And you know what? I'm going to throw it up to our tallest receiver. He can bring it in. Casas only has 84 speed, but he has the ability sure hands, which means he's going to catch that most of the time. And that's the draw to recruiting physical receivers. That makes me want to get one a bit more. I think we had a touchdown right there. We'll still be close. Well, Kevin Hart couldn't hold on to the football. The RPO does take us to the 1 though. And it's time for that Derek Carr to Kevin Hart combo that we recruited in season 1. For the 2-point conversion, I almost want to go back to the RPO that we ran a couple plays ago. We get it. And just the fact that we have them on a 3rd and 10, I'm feeling so much pressure right now. We could have intercepted that. Either way though, I think we're going to be okay. I'm feeling a bit better about the position that we're in. And there is only one spot I'm going to be looking with Derek Carr on this play because Brink can get open underneath. I'm going to assume that we're not in field goal range at the moment though. I'm about to see how fast Derek Carr really is. That was some stick. And we could actually go to 4 and 6. We just got a big run right here and that takes us to the 10. We're going to run down the clock, get it centered up in the middle, and then we're going to kick our 3. But the more important game is the one we're playing next week. It's cool that we're getting this win right here, but we still haven't beaten a rival. And that's next up on Derek Carr's to-do list. I'm going to be so devastated if we fall to the Eagles again. But this year feels like it's going to go a bit different. Here in the 3rd quarter, we have a lead. We're also using the RPO to get closer to the end zone. And we've been using the Oregon playbook the last few weeks, which has actually been a pretty good experience. There is literally no reason for us to do anything else than keep running fullback dive now. But what would really help us is not giving up a touchdown on this 3rd and goal, and I could tell that they wanted to scramble. They just fight off every tackle. It doesn't matter how fast I get there, the computer breaks it every game. And this is what I'm dealing with playing with these bums. How are we supposed to win a championship? They're about to get the ball back and probably have plenty of success. That wasn't even a catch. They're calling that a catch and a fumble. They wouldn't just somehow score 1 touchdown after that either. They would get 2 of them. So we are now down 26-14. We fumbled the kickoff or something. It is just ridiculous. I don't mind if I run with Derek Carr on every single play. He's getting slow. And I guess we're going to find out if we're able to get into the end zone. That could have been picked. Everything turned out to be okay though. This is a huge 3rd and 4. And of course we just left him open. I played hard flats. I can't with this team. We know that they're just about to run it down our throats. And I'm bringing over as many people as I can, but it's going to be 1st and 10. This game's just over at this point. I don't know why we're still trying. And we are literally going to be hopeless in this entire rebuild. I am surprised that they're throwing it on 3rd down though. They've tested my user. Hang on. We are not out of this yet. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Okay, we just have to act like we have been here before. Have we? Absolutely not. And was that open? Not even close. I just felt like I had to get something out. We're going to take our drag this time, and that's going to run some clock. I am scared to throw this ball very far down the field, though. We got to get something out. We can go out of bounds. And I wish I could trust some of our players to beat these kids deep, but we're going to have to go for the aggressive catches. We need ISO over there. ISO over on the left side of the field. I'm seeing some more isolation. Casas turns around, brings it in. He's at the 1. Okay, here we go. We ran down the clock a little bit. I might regret that later on. We could have had a touchdown right there. I'm throwing it away. I am literally so nervous. We can throw the slant. We can catch it. We have done it. We have beat Eastern Michigan in the final seconds. And EA literally did everything in their power to make sure that we didn't beat our rivals, but it doesn't matter. I don't think we're winning the battle for the Michigan MAC. We did win at least this one game. I'm not really sure how the tiebreaker works between 3 teams, but 3 tutties for Derek Carr. If only we had one more game to hop into, I could also play against Louisiana Monroe. But look at that. Alex Brown won Player of the Week with a terrible stat line. I figured there had to be a touchdown hiding in there or something, though. Apparently, he had a pick 6, and not only did we win 41-14. I know we couldn't beat Central Michigan, but that's quite the season for us. I'm just remembering, though, I did learn a bad lesson about having a defensive coordinator that's a recruiter. Apparently, even though this says that it's going to make our offensive players take a lot less time to scout, we need our offensive coordinator to also have that, or else it's still going to take the full 50 hours to scout any offensive players. On the defensive side, it's quicker, but not offensively. After the season we had, though, knowing our offensive coordinator's an architect, I can't fire him. We're just going to have to go with scouting players for a lot longer. And I'm actually a little bit nervous that we're not going to get ourselves a bowl game since we were low down in the conference standings, but we're playing TCU. That's going to be tough. They score 11 more points per game than us, and you know what? We might get blown out, but we have made it this far. And even if they 63-3 us, this is a very, very successful season. To my surprise, though, we have this one within 9 points. On 3rd down, it looks like they're going to scramble and they're going to pick it up. So that will seal the game, but it was a pretty good effort. The final score doesn't really make it look pretty, but we know it was closer than that. And statistically, Derek Carr had himself quite the year, only 6 interceptions. This is a huge turnaround for him. In the rushing game, it was like non-existent, but we had a receiver go for 10 touchdowns. That's right, Eduardo Casas. He's the guy that has 50-50. He's also tall. I didn't even realize we had him on the roster last year when I wanted somebody like this. But that slow speed's doing nothing for us facing off against any playoff caliber team. I'm just glad that at the end of the year, we can say that we made one game of progress towards the architect tree. And I have those coach points saved up for whenever we unlock it. The only players that we're losing are 3 cornerbacks, which means next season should be better than this past year. And is there going to be any 1-star transfers? There's not. That's really not the end of the world, though. I told you all that this class means nothing. It's the next one that is the most important. But I should point out what we've been doing with speed rushers. So we have Keenan Bullock right here. He's now up to a sophomore redshirt. He cannot progress as a linebacker at that position. Speed rusher doesn't exist for that archetype. It's a little confusing. I think I talked about it in the last 1-star video as well, but we're going to move him to speed rusher and he should shoot up in overall. I think the reason that it works is there is a speed rusher tendency for the left and right ends. That is how Javonte got up to a 91. And it's really the only way to make any use out of these 45 overall athletes. Like, this kid was supposed to be a running back, but he'd just be a 45 overall, so I'd much rather make him a speed rusher, and maybe one day he can be even better than that. We definitely do have a shortage at the running back position, though, because I haven't moved many players here. And I wish I could say that some of the deep threat receivers turned into good running backs, but I'm pretty sure Derek Hyman's not going to progress much. At the quarterback position, we've also figured it out. We just got to scout for the best ones, because we have a 69 overall freshman and a 67. Plus, what did I say? There's Keenan Bullock, our 4th best player. This is the roster we're taking into season number 5, where the thing I am most concerned about, like I've been saying, is the recruiting class. What I've had to do so far is quite a lot of scouting. There's only 5 players that are still on the board after that, because it takes so long to find these offensive talents. But we found a receiver, 1-star, 95 speed. Getting Nick is one of the most important things in this class. That's going to allow our offense to spread out the field a bit more, but I've also found 2 quarterback options. I'm not sure who's going to be better, but they're both pretty good. All the recruiting stuff is all I care about at the moment. If we lose to Army in week 0, so what? But that probably isn't happening. Johnny Takeoff wins player of the week, no interceptions, no touchdowns, 0 tackles. The freshman literally did not record a single stat besides on the fumble side of things. He forced a fumble, he recovered 2 of them, and that was part of our win where we won 26-11. That's a great start. Also, our recruiting board is starting to expand a little bit. I found 2 physical tendency wide receivers with 86 speed and 85. I think that is worth trying to get them in, and we've also gotten some corners with 88 and 89 speed. If anything's really important about the 1-stars we're recruiting, it's going to be their physical attributes. They're probably not going to go up much throughout the rest of their career. And we need them to be just quick enough to where they can at least keep up with the bigger schools. We destroyed an FCS school. We're making strides forward, though we're about to play Michigan State. And it's just hard for me to care about these results at the moment when this is my main focus. You're going to see a bunch of athletes. I said we're going to go after them. Hold up, though. Henry Sweet had 4 sacks against the Spartans, and we beat them 17-13. What is happening? We have just one more game now before the very important one against our rivals Eastern Michigan. And these sim performances have started to become extremely refreshing. I almost want to sim against them too. Derek Carr isn't really playing well. On the rushing side of things, 3 yards per carry is the most that we're getting, but we were still able to beat Miami, Ohio. And it's up to us to make sure the undefeated season doesn't end here. To be fair, we are in season 5, so this is around the time that you'd expect me to start having a little bit of success. But this team is built on classes of 1-star recruits, and we are still going to take that lead. It's raining, so it's not the environment that I want to be playing in. But it turns out that doesn't make a difference at all, because here in the 4th quarter, they've literally scored 0 points. It's our defense that's carrying this roster, but I'm perfectly fine with that. And we've picked up the 2nd rivalry win that we need. If we get 2 more of those, we'll unlock the architect tree. And look at this. Our junior free safety, Max Hickson, had 3 interceptions. That's what makes the difference in games like that. We're also having 0 issues whenever it comes to the kids that we're recruiting. And I'm going to continue to scout for the best talent as we sim to our game against Central Michigan. We have 2 games before we play them. I'm hoping that we're still going to be sitting at the top of the conference standings. And there's the commitment from the fastest receiver I've ever seen as a 1-star, 95 speed. We might have struck gold with Logan Claiborne at running back as well. He's going to turn out to be a gem. He is 91 speed, which is just perfect. And I think of the 2 quarterbacks that we recruited, Jay Scotland Williamson's going to be the better one, but that's got to be the longest last name I have ever seen on this game, so we're going to have to find a way to shorten it down. I should also point out that since we seem to pass the ball more than we run the ball, I'm going to look for just pass protector tendency offensive linemen to recruit. And this might be overdoing it, but I've made sure that every single one of these guys is also 6'7". I'm doing everything in my power to make this the best 1-star team of all time. It turns out that we beat Akron, but took our first loss against Toledo. And that's going to move us down to 3rd place in our conference, but if we win out, we could still make the MAC championship. We can hop into 2 games still. Of course, one of them has to be against Central Michigan. And once we finally unlock the architect tree, we won't have to play our rivals every season. I'm ready to hop in against other teams than just them. We are in a 10-10 spot at the moment. And on 3rd and 7, I might just throw up a jump ball here because we know he can make aggressive catches. That didn't work for us though. As long as we have a lead, we can maintain it. And that's exactly what we've done. Is we're starting this 4th quarter still up by 3, picking up the 4th and 1. This game's certainly been a nice change of pace. We've actually been able to run the ball. And I'm expecting Kevin Hart to take us into the end zone, which he does right here. Central Michigan just won't go away though, which means we're trying to do the same thing again. And I think the reason we're blocking so well is at the moment everybody on our offensive line has the power tendency. I built the offensive line for more running than passing, even though that's what we tend to do. And it wasn't hard for us to close out the game from that moment. Kevin Hart went for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. And even if this season falls apart from here, I'm happy with how the year went. We've made it to where if we just win one more rivalry, I'll finally be able to go down this archetype. But we are just folding at the chance of making it to the conference championship, losing 26-0 to Ball State. I better not see that Derek Carr was healthy for this game. He threw 2 interceptions. He didn't even throw for more than 100 yards. And that literally just ruins the end of this season. Of course, now we figure it out against the Huskies, 43-13. But we have no hope of making it to the conference championship, except we do play Ohio, I think. It might just be worth it to hop into this one since we can. Because if we won this plus our first bowl ever, that would be a 10-win season. There is snow on the ground up here in Western Michigan. And it's not held us back from being in a good position in this game. A touchdown right here is going to give us an 8-point lead. Or we could go for the 2-point conversion and make things more interesting. This is such a bad decision, but it will turn into a good one if it works. Kevin Hart is going to have an open lane. And it's actually causing them to attempt this field goal on 4th and 2 instead of going for it. Us getting the 2-point conversion put the pressure on them to not just be aggressive. And that means 1 first down from us ends this game, though we're going to have to pass. To get to 9 wins on the year, here on 3rd and 9, I hit it too late. But it's going to be extremely hard for them to score a touchdown with no timeouts and just a minute on the clock. I guess I forgot that they still had 1 remaining. But that is it. They can no longer stop the clock, and I almost gave that one up. This is not the time to try and bait them into interceptions. We're giving up a touchdown over on the left side, though. That is why we need speed at cornerback. We ran into that exact same issue the last time we used only 1-stars. We actually lost because of it. Decent return. But this time around, we can still go for the win. We have time to respond back, and using a playmaker, we're going to be past midfield already. I love it. It really helps having a senior receiver like him that we're able to lean on. This is put right where it needs to be as well. And it hasn't been hard for us to just center up for the field goal, though we're going to run it in instead. That's how you close out a game right there in the snow. All these fans in the background came out to support us, even though it's got to be like 20 degrees out. And that's because we're building something special. We still have Kevin Hart for another year after this, but we've made the MAC MAC championship. I don't know how we have the 4-way tiebreaker over Akron, Miami, Ohio, and Ohio, but we do. We are the one team that gets in with 3 losses. And what did I say? I knew it was important that we played against the Bobcats. Now we're going to face off against the Rockets, which has the potential to be a massive moment for all of these 1-stars. However, judging how the first 3 quarters went, I don't think there's any way that we're going to beat Toledo. And we really need to convert on this 4th and 2. I just can't believe we've only scored 6. Our defense has been the key to our success. They just didn't show up. And I'll try my best to overcome a 4-possession deficit. We just know that's hard to do. They've gotten us to a 4th and goal because we stopped being able to run it. We could here, but we also have to be able to get stops, and I bit on that play action. Good throw. By the time that we're going to get it back after holding them to a field goal, there's like 3 minutes left in this game, which means we need to score an instant touchdown. And we all know that we don't really have the receivers capable of getting us an instant touchdown. Anytime we try to throw it up, we're just going to experience some drops. They are able to run with our receivers too. And time is running out. This is it right here. 4th down. Hang on. I don't know why they put that coverage out there on the field, but Ogletree is able to just dust by number 5. That's good news for us. I'm also going to go for the 2-point conversion just because I can. I don't really care. What really matters is that we're able to hold them to a 3 and out. This is going to be a handoff to the right side that we can get all over. And for whatever reason, they are deciding to throw the ball on this next down where they drop it. This is actually such a huge 3rd and 7. We can't afford to give this up. We don't. And you see that we still have all 3 of our timeouts. You see that we have just hit the 2-minute warning. There is still an opportunity for a comeback. This would certainly turn into probably the greatest one I've ever had if we end up pulling it off. And it is time that we look for isolation over there on that left side of the field. Give me this aggressive catch, get out of bounds. Things are actually going pretty well for what we need in this scenario. The drag route's open. What are you doing? We can't afford mistakes like that right now. We needed to get in right there. We should be able to with this throw. And you know that all we have to do is hold them to 1 more 3 and out now. Now let's be real with this defense. It's a little bit easier said than done. I do not trust it at all, but it's going to be 3rd and 5. This is where things get a little tricky. They are going to run it, which helps us, though we are not going to be quick enough to stop the running back, and he might take it all the way. This is just a disaster. That's why we need to recruit speed at every position, because if they beat us to the outside like that right there, which we know the big schools are going to do with their amazing running backs, there's nothing I can do. That was this kid's first big run of the day too, and it's going to prevent us from winning our first MAC championship. Even though those first 3 seasons were super rough though, for being 5 years in, this is about where I wanted to be. And with Utah State as our bowl opponent, we could still achieve a 10-win year. That'd be incredible. Derek Carr's actually had a worse season this year though than he did last year. Looking at our rushing stats, Kevin Hart went off. 800 yards, 11 touchdowns, might be the best we've seen, and look at Casas go. It truly is a shame that we're not going to have a physical receiver for a while after he graduates. But we know that I've recruited a couple of them that are even faster than he is. It just depends how they develop. Now in this bowl game against Utah State, unlike our last game, we've actually played well defensively. But here's the problem. We only have a 2-point lead, and if they get into field goal range, we're going to lose. That's exactly what they've done though. They're spiking the ball. And it is time to send the crib, which is not working out for us. They are already going to the 10. They're probably just going to settle for 3 from here. And I think if we want a chance in this game, we're going to have to just let them score a touchdown. Not my favorite thing to do there, but we weren't going to have enough timeouts to stop the clock. Using Playmaker on the run, this could be beautiful, but it's not. And it's because we stepped 1 foot past the line of scrimmage. That is going to make things much more difficult for us, though we do have our crossing route. We can get out of bounds. And we don't have a jump ball receiver for no reason. We get to use him a couple more times, except he did not win that one-on-one. Come to think of it, that might actually be the first one that he's let us down on. I thought for a second that I lost this game coaching against a girl, but it was just a dude with long hair. Looking at the playoffs, Syracuse won the championship. And everything seemed fine for next season besides losing guys like Eduardo, except the fact that Javonte is now declaring early for the NFL draft. We weren't convincing him to come back. He was getting first-round love as a 5'10", 181-pound rusher. He was never going to stay. And our recruiting board is already completely filled up, so I can't get anybody in the transfer portal if I wanted, but there are some 1-stars that could have been cool to pursue. That's something I'll have to keep in mind for next year. We already had a full recruiting board. It is time to see if there's anybody in here that has a dev trait higher than impact. And unfortunately, both of our quarterbacks are normal, but if I scroll down here to Gideon, he has star dev as a 93 speed receiver. Just taking a look at all the athletes that we've brought in, I have my work cut out for me. I got to move all these players around, but there's a good chance that most of them are just going to end up going over to a speed rusher linebacker. Now, you could say I've overdone things a bit too much to have this many left outside linebackers as freshmen, but most of them don't have the speed to play other positions, and then when they do, like this kid is 89, he's not great anywhere else. He was supposed to be a running back as an athlete, but we already brought in 2 freshmen that are both faster than him, and he would have only been a 45 overall, which means we're going to see if he can figure things out on the defensive side of the ball. Now, now. We have to start getting tacticians in here after this next recruiting class, or else our overalls are never going to get much higher. And there's a real case for making Derek Carr sit right behind freshman DJ Swartz. He jumped up to an 82. The problem with most of the players that we have at the moment, though, is they've been fully capped out on their skills for such a long time. And since our roster has 107 players, 22 over the limit, I'm going to have to cut some of those guys that aren't ever going to get on the field. Truth be told, I want to focus in on the future, and at the moment, Derek Carr won't be the future for us. This doesn't feel right, but we're going to encourage him to transfer somewhere else so he can play. And the same thing's actually going to happen to Kevin Hart because he only has 83 speed. I don't care if he ran for 800 yards. It wasn't easy to do, but I was eventually able to cut our roster down. I'm also going to redshirt every freshman that we've recruited so they can actually be around by season number 10. Another thing I have to do is I have to sign another full class of 35 players. I have this written down in my plan, but the problem with that is we only have 11 seniors, so I'm going to have to cut like 24 guys again next year. This is more so about me trying to care about how we perform once we get to seasons 9 and 10 instead of caring about where we're at right now. And it might not seem like it makes much sense, but if we're ever going to get that overall high enough to beat teams like Syracuse, beat teams like Michigan, we have to take these steps. I mean, at the moment, there's just no way this year goes well. We're a 74 overall. But I think the roster is much better than that shows, which is why we beat Georgia State by 33 points. Freshman DJ Swartz started for his first game, 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Everything went well offensively. And when it comes to recruiting, we've actually been able to find ourselves 4 one-star gyms. There's a little bit of competition for one player, but that is literally it. Just like last season, I think it's important that we get a couple quarterbacks. I want to have as many options at that position as possible. I've also picked up some safeties and an extra corner. We're going to be getting like 5 extra corners, in fact. And look at this running back, 90 speed plus a gym. Even if they only ever get up to like an 80 overall, by the time that they're seniors, that could make a big difference. And just to check in to see where we're at compared to some of the bigger programs, we're going to play on the road at Michigan. What you're seeing in this game is just pure domination from them. It's why we have to max out the tactician trees. We have to get better. And we are clearly nowhere near being a championship contender. It's going to take a lot to even have a chance in season number 10. It's safe to say that this one-star only challenge is not for the weak. And I truthfully believe that with the plan I have, nobody out there that's watching this video is going to be able to build a higher overall roster out of 1-stars. My prediction right now is we're going to be able to make it up to like an 86, 87 overall. But that could be pushing it. It turns out we're going to lose to Syracuse, take down FCS West, and then beat Kent State on the road by 5. So we're going to be 3-2 going into the most important rivalry game that we have ever played. And this is literally it right here. It's to unlock the architect tree. Now, I would certainly prefer that with 2 minutes left, we were not trailing by 4, but we should be fine. And you have to keep in mind, we have a freshman quarterback out there that is a little bit quicker than what we had in the previous seasons. In fact, I think DJ Swartz is as quick as they're going to get for us. Using Playmaker, this could be a bit of a dumb throw. We catch it. But here's the problem. If they happen to have any success, they're going to score, and there it is. I don't know what type of coverage that was. It looked like we could have intercepted it. And I have learned my lesson. We will be sending 0 blitzes the rest of this rebuild. I also threw it straight to him. What am I doing? What am I doing? We're blowing this rivalry game. There was no reason to force that at all, though we're going to shoot in that gap. And maybe we can do the same thing on second down. We do. I really don't think they're going to pick up this 3rd and 16. They have nowhere to go. But we need them to shank this field goal, and it's not happening. This time, we cannot throw an interception. It is better to take a sack. And I really don't have the option to just throw it up like I did in previous seasons. We don't have a jump ball receiver to win it. We're going to knock it out of bounds. And I might just have to click on with Gomez anyway and see if we can come back, turn around, hold on. That is the most successful play in this Western Michigan playbook. We also have enough time to get this out, but it really wasn't there for us. We need to be able to hit our tight end, and he goes out of bounds. Whatever happens here, we cannot go down in bounds. This is probably just going to get thrown away. And I'm looking to hit a slant over the middle of the field. I don't know if that's going to work. Now it is time for the 2-point conversion. Big play call coming up. And I don't want to go to overtime. I am going to try Hyman out of Wildcat. I'll never go back to this again if it doesn't work. He has 90 speed. The blocks are good. We're winning. I might have thrown an interception, but it's not going to cost us this rivalry. And we're going to be using DJ Swartz for the next 4 years. The only way that we won't is if one of our younger quarterbacks that are being redshirted right now jumps him in overall. And at the moment, both of their accuracies are pretty much already capped. At least he has 1 skill cap he could still unlock, but that's why this next move is so crucial. We are going to spend the 15 coach points that it costs to unlock the architect tree. And at least over here on the offensive side of the ball, we are going to make sure there's a chance to increase a random skill cap every time that we level up. I'm also going to do tier 3 for receivers and offensive linemen because for every 3-game win streak, they're going to level up even quicker. As we get more coach points, we will get to tier 3 for other positions, but at least for now, we're going to have tier 2 for all of them besides defensive line. And if we want to start leveling up quicker, we need to be winning a lot more. Our recruiting recruiting classes aren't helping us out too much. You don't get good bonuses for recruiting a bunch of 1-stars, though we're signing everybody. And there's one position I haven't spent too much time recruiting yet. It's offensive line, but just like last year, every single one of these players besides one center is 6'7". I literally think what I'm about to do is just sim all the way down to this game against Miami University. They're ranked, they're undefeated. That means skipping over Central Michigan for the first time, which is what I want to prioritize since the Redhawks are sitting at the top of our conference. Well, I think I'm going to have some good news for you all as we go into the final week. And that's because we're sitting at 8-3, but Miami, Ohio's 10-1. They're also ranked number 15. We barely survived at Toledo. We also lost at Ohio, who's 10-2 at the moment. They could be in the running for the conference championship, but we won all these games, including beating rival Central Michigan. And we got to talk about how good of a season the MAC conference is having as a whole at the moment. That's not necessarily great for us, though. It puts a lot of pressure on our team. And at the moment, it seems like we are going to fall to Miami, Ohio. Big 4th and 6 right here. Our drag route's going to be open. We're still trailing by 10. And I'm not feeling good about it, though we are going to try to throw this one up, and there's no way that we don't catch it. I saw the press. Gomez is apparently fast enough to beat it. He might have beat it again, too. He only has about 89 speed. And if they're going to stick that white corner on him, we're just going to bully him. We do have a problem, though, and that's when it comes to getting the ball back. We basically can't let them pick up this 3rd and 4. I'm not sure anything's open, though they were able to get it. They've also just thrown us off of them. What is that? Like, how is he going to fully shove our player and we're just going to fall backwards? We're not that bad. This is the problem with using 1-star recruits. We're going to lose. And I think because Ohio had the tiebreaker versus us, they're going to make it to the conference championship. This was our year for it, but I do have some good news. We can get rid of this defensive coordinator that's been a recruiter for us. And if we find the right guy to fill him in, all of our team stats will be boosted. I'm not worried about that bowl game at the moment. I just want us to get a tactician, and this might be the best we can find for now, but I'm a search for a bit longer. We're gonna have multiple weeks before we hire anybody. For now, we can take on Troy, try to win our first bowl game. And I just noticed it's saying our team overall went down another 5. I'm not sure why. It's such a broken metric in this game, but I think that's our overall without tactician boosts. And that is extremely sad, but at least at the moment, we're playing pretty well. I'm trying to dot up this defense. We hang on. DJ Schwartz is already putting balls where we want him to be, even if his accuracy is not supposed to go up again. And with how well our offense played, Troy had a late touchdown, but they still couldn't even make it close. That's our first bowl win at Western Michigan. It is a big deal. And I ended up having to hire Peter as a tactician, but we'll probably look for another one next season. Either way, he's going to help out our overall. DJ Schwartz threw for 3,500 yards. The 15 interceptions are a problem. We rushed the ball just fine with Derek Hyman. He'll be back for a senior season, and we had a 1,000-yard receiver in Brenton Benshaw. 67 overall, but he is only a sophomore, and I would assume, yeah, he's already hit his skill caps. He's not getting better in this. I still really don't see how we're ever going to compete for a championship to have a roster that's even near that good, especially since these are some of the first players that we ever recruited, and the highest they've gotten up to is like 80 overall. With a class of 35 players, I'm not going to be able to look at the transfer portal again, but next season I might explore it a little bit more. I just wanted to get our base 70 guys in for the championship roster. And what I'm hoping for is a lot of impact development, maybe a couple star devs. We had one of them last season, but I don't think there's going to be a single star dev throughout this entire class. It's not the end of the world, though. We've leveled up a few more times, so we're going to be able to start earning XP bonuses for 3-game win streaks at every position. The only one that we still have put nothing into is our defensive line. Before we do that, though, we need to somehow get another 100 skill points because we have to max out all of our tactician stuff too. And I just can't believe how many speed rushers we're going to have to mess around with once we get to those later seasons. If those don't work out for us, we're in a lot of trouble. Looking at our roster and the training results, all of our best players are basically seniors besides DJ Schwartz. And I don't think he can even get any better than he already is, though if we see his accuracy go up any more than where it's at right now, we know the architect tree archetype is working. The final challenging thing I have to do, though, is I have to cut more players from this roster, and I just did that last year, but we signed another 35, so we have to get rid of some really good people. Basically, I'm just cutting anybody that won't be there for season number 10. And after going through the entire roster, I think I have to start getting rid of starters, including even DJ Schwartz, because I want to develop these guys over the next 4 years instead. It just makes like no sense to get rid of the quarterback that led us to a good year. It really stinks what I had to do, but if you look down here, we have 11 seniors, 2 juniors, and 3 sophomores. Everybody else that's a freshman, all 69 of these players will be on the championship hopeful roster. And all I really care about in these next 3 seasons is how we develop these players, so just hopefully by season number 10, they can be a little bit better than this. It's time for what needs to be an incredible 4-year run. Our first game is going to be against Michigan State. And I'm only going to talk about recruiting once because these are the only 4 players we're going to go after until the transfer portal. We really don't even need to sign them. I just wanted a couple other fast fast receivers and running backs, especially this kid, Marcus Lee, 95 speed. Even if he's capped out around a 75 overall, you just can't teach speed. And you could argue it's more important that we focus on winning a MAC championship this season, but I want to see how good this base roster really is. I want to see us compete versus an average Power 4 team. And our first drive has been going pretty well so far, though right here we're going to have to playmaker and we can't make the throw. The worst part is this entire game we've had like zero success since then. Here's a touchdown throw. And I like the curl route. We were able to beat man-to-man coverage. The problem though is the Spartans would score again. We are going to have to get it past that linebacker. But Michigan State still has not stopped scoring. On this fourth down, we are going to put it past that corner too. We hold on. So we keep on catching touchdowns, but we're still behind. We'd be in a pretty good spot though if we get them off the field on this 3rd and 13. I'm not even going to click on. And interestingly enough, I'm going to see if our 95 speed freshman can beat them deep over on that right side of the field. I'm not sure he's quick enough to do that yet, but he is able to catch it. So that has been a great start to this drive. 2 plays later, he is going to be gone as well, right off the line. And he might not be able to do this against the best schools, but at least mid-Power 4 schools he can. The 2-point conversion is very important, though. We have to make sure that we get in right here. And that's because there is a pretty solid chance that they're going to get in field goal range. The thing is, as good as we have tried to recruit, our coverage stats simply are not there. And I might be learning a hard lesson right here by sending a blitz, but we've done it, and we almost had the pick. All right, here we go. Huge 4th and 3. They're going to get it out in time. And we're just going to keep on sending. I think I could get an interception right here with a lurk. They have to throw it away. I'm actually loving what I'm seeing at the moment. They're panicking. And here we go. 3rd and 10. They throw it away. There is simply no way that they're going to get a field goal now. They have to throw up a Hail Mary. This is their final chance to beat us. We could start 1-0. We do. And those might have been some ballsy defensive calls, but it's how we're going to be able to beat bigger schools. I honestly don't think this team could have played any better than we did. But the real question's going to be, will that continue throughout the rest of the year? I know that it says our overall super low, but that's just because all the freshmen are dragging it down. I think we could easily get to 6 wins with this schedule. And luckily for us, against Appalachian State, even though they had 500 total yards of offense, we took them down by 1 possession. If anything, the defense on our team is probably the weak part. But with a win at North Texas, we just went undefeated in non-conference play. We do have 3 straight road games coming up though. I have a feeling that could go bad, which is why I'm going to try to extend our run at Miami, Ohio. We scored 0 points in the first half though. It is extremely difficult to come back from that. And the longer the game went on for, the more our defense just kept falling apart. To be honest, we're just giving up way too many big plays. And I don't think the game factors that in as much whenever you sim from the menu, so we're just gonna go straight to the first college football playoff poll. During that time frame, we would beat our rivals Eastern Michigan, we'd lose back-to-back conference games, and then we'd beat our other rivals Central Michigan. But it's too late for us to make a run at anything in our conference since we already have 3 losses. It's a little bit disappointing, but no matter what, we have secured a bowl win. And for the few prospects that we did go after, we convinced them to come to Western Michigan. Knowing that the result of these final few games didn't matter that much, I decided to sim all 3 of them. Ohio was the one team that beat us. And I'm perfectly fine with us going 8-4 for a year, especially if we have 2 teams from our conference inside the top 25. We still have a lot to work on, and I know I said I was going to fire this coordinator last year, but I took a second look at his talent tree, and for the recruiter side of things, he's pretty much filled it all up. I'm completely fine with the stat boost that we're getting at the moment, our bowl games against San Jose State. And this is where we can cap out a pretty strong season. From the looks of it, with a minute left, we aren't in a terrible position unless they're able to pick this play up. They're trying to run for it. And here we go. 4th and 6. We just can't give up anything dumb. We have somebody right there. Well, they only have 1 timeout left, so we're going to win a bowl game 2 seasons in a row. But I don't think these mean much to us anymore. We need to have bigger goals like finally winning our conference championship and also cracking double-digit wins for the first time in this rebuild. Those are the first steps before we can even dream of being in NC State's position. I see Toledo made the playoffs, so there's another school from our conference getting in. But it isn't us, and with all these 80-plus seniors that we're losing, we might actually take a step back next year. At the running back position, Derek Hyman will be missed. When it comes to throwing the ball, though, we didn't do a great job of that, mainly because we had an injury with Jay Scotland Williamson. So his yard numbers were lower, but at least he kept the interceptions down, and freshman receiver Nick Wendt was our number 1. That's the kid with 95 speed. We're already bringing in another one, but I'm starting to wonder if I should just take a look at some of these 1-star transfers and get them to come to our school. We have a few extra spots on the roster. Of course, I need to make sure their stats are good, like 90 speed on a receiver. We can take that. Quarterback-wise, Warren Bourne isn't the best. So signing him probably wasn't worth it, and I guess we'll find out if any of these other transfers were. I mean, he's just a 60 overall, but I wanted to see what his skill caps looked like. His accuracy can actually go up so high. Never mind, this kid was worth it. If training results go right over the next few years, he could shoot over all these players. When it comes to the wide receiver position, it looks like Gillikin's just a 57, but again, the skill caps on the 1-star transfers is the most important part. and his stats are very limited. For almost all the other transfers, they were terrible, but if I find impact dev on one of them, that is when their skill caps aren't as bad and they could actually get up to those high 80s potentially. Without that, our only chance at getting high overall defensive players is moving these speed rusher linebackers over, but you might notice J. Scotland Williamson is also been moved here because I'm switching him back to quarterback where he then becomes a field general instead of a scrambler. I'm testing all sorts of switches at the moment. I think whenever you change a player's position like that, they get better dev traits. Like now he has platinum sleight of hand, which I doubt he had before. I think getting different archetypes on players opens up how good some of their stats can get. We're going to test it with running back Logan Claiborne. Right now, he cannot get any better when it comes to his elusiveness. And his only ability is team player. It's a mental ability. Doesn't do too much. So we're just going to switch him over to linebacker, then move him back to running back. As you can see, when we're doing that, his archetype has changed over from elusive back to receiving back. And he gained a couple of physical abilities while also maintaining his mental ability. But more importantly, we can now make his elusiveness even higher. Those are the types of things that I'm going to have to look for in the final few seasons with position changes, because as you can see now, Logan Claiborne shot up to an 85 overall running back. J. Scotland Williamson, he just doesn't have much more room to improve. But we have found a way for some of our players to get better than they should be, and he could even get past this. Before that, he was capped out at elusiveness. There were other positions I tried this with too, though, like wide receiver with Nick Went, and the issue was he came back to a deep threat tendency whenever we swapped him back, so nothing changed at all. Whenever they go back to their original position, you need their archetype to be different than it was originally. Looking at this though, we have 84 players, and these are the 84 that we're going to be taking to the championship, hopefully. I am a little bit nervous though that in the next few years we're not going to stack up enough tactician points to fill all of these out. We should probably focus in on making our defensive backs good. And looking at our roster numbers, there are 2 seniors and 3 juniors that aren't going to be there by season number 10. There is simply no more reason for us to recruit though. The only thing I'm focused on for this year is getting us to a MAC conference championship. That is my one goal. And outside of that, I have 3 seasons left to complete this challenge. Beating Georgia State on the road is a pretty respectable way to open up this season. And we almost had a scare versus FCS Northwest, but we've picked up 3 straight wins, going up now against 0-3 rivals Central Michigan. There's no reason for us to play this. We've been beating them in sim recently. And I wish we were able to finish every season as strong as we start them. Thankfully, with a few more wins, we've been able to level up, and that's going to allow us to max out all the stat boosts that our secondary gets. But we still need to level up at least 8 more times, and looking at Bowling Green, they're 1-3. I'm not worried. Maybe I should have been though. They took us down by 2 points, and then we just barely survived against Buffalo and also barely survived against 1-6 NIU. We are missing a couple starters due to injury, but that's pretty typical. Outside of that, it's not like we're missing our star players. So it feels like we're getting lucky with some of these wins, and we don't have that much separation versus some of the other MAC schools. If we're going to make it to the conference championship game, we need to beat Miami, we need to beat Toledo, and we need to also make sure we don't lose again. But I just rechecked our schedule, and we don't have either of those teams on there. We only have 4 conference games left. I guess we're literally just going to play the next 3 straight, and I would very much so appreciate it if these games weren't so tight. From the looks of it so far, they actually might not be. We have a chance to go up 21-3, and we might be getting bailed out with an easy conference schedule, but we deserve it. This entire matchup, all we've done is keep our distance between them and us. They don't get the 4th and 6, and that pretty much seals the game, especially if we get ourselves one more first down. We definitely made the right decision making Claiborne a receiving back. It really hasn't affected his rushing ability, but it made his spin move better, it made his juke move better, and that's a first down. I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. We simmed like halfway through the year, now we're improving to 7-1. And I just noticed that J. Scotland Williamson's name is so long, it doesn't even fit on the player of the game graphic. All of this winning really doesn't mean much though. If Toledo or Miami, Ohio doesn't lose a conference game at some point, I'm sure they'll play each other at least. But I'm hoping that doesn't turn into an issue, and all we can do is worry about the stuff that we can control. Instead of playing at home, this week we're having to head on the road to Ball State. And I should be super excited because we've had full control of this game. I don't think we're going to lose it as we're about to score another touchdown. But here's the problem. Earlier on in this game, J. Scotland Williamson suffered a partial PCL tear, and I don't know how long he's going to be out for. Even though we're still in full control of this game, ever since he went out, we haven't been as effective offensively. And you could chalk up a lot of our success to how our defense is playing. They literally only gave up 6 points throughout the entire 4 quarters. And we just lost our starting quarterback for 7 more weeks. If you end up scrolling and counting, that is every week that is left in this season, including the potential conference championship. So we have to make the right decision on who we actually want to use, and it was Clayton that stepped up in the last game coming in for us. I just got to take another look at what his accuracy stats are. They're not great, but believe it or not, it's the best that we have at the moment. So we'll see what happens with him out there in this next one. At least the first touchdown of the game should go to us right here. But we're falling short, and this is why I have a fullback on roster that can't ever get in there. Stuff like that is exactly why we find ourselves in this position with a few minutes left, though that's an amazing pass. Nick is going to get out of there, and using his speed, he is going to be gone to the crib. I told you all, that kid is going to be our best receiver the rest of this video. But none of that's going to matter if they're able to score, and they're getting close. Here we go. Now it is 3rd and 7. I feel like I'm going to give up something deep. That is just a check down, though. That works. And the hurry up is really messing us up defensively. Yeah, I just left him open. I thought I'd switched off of him. This is not good. They're now down at the 1. But I'm not sure if they're going to hand it off or not. They're still trying to throw, and there's a flag. It was against us. They're going to decline it. But did they miss the extra point? They only have a 2-point lead with this much time left, and right now we're going to just throw it and get out of bounds. It turns out they didn't miss the extra point, but we blocked it. And that little extra bit of effort could literally win us the game. What type of coverage do you all have going on over there? We can just settle down inside the 10-yard line and win. Do not shove us in. They had some terrible alignment. This field goal is going to give it to us. And what a chaotic way to pick up another conference win. I also have to say, with no interceptions, Clayton Carew played pretty well. And we might be okay with him as our starter. I should also point out that Miami, Ohio has lost. I think we're going to be in the conference championship as long as we don't lose our final conference game. And it wasn't pretty, 13-7, but that's the result that we needed. Our final games against Wake Forest. Just from the looks of it, we did pick up a second loss. But it doesn't matter. We are in the MAC championship, and Toledo is ranked in the top 10. Now, you might be wondering, if you can't handle Wake Forest, how are you going to handle them? Well, we only lost by 3. And they've the same record as us, 10-2, but they get to be ranked super highly, and we don't get to touch the top 25. Like expected, we also have to go into this game with our backup quarterback, but that's our only injury now. And I have some faith in this team to shock the rest of the conference. This is not unfamiliar territory. It's just taken us quite a while to get back to this game. And we simply cannot make the mistake of losing it this time. If they're going to give us that lane, we're going to take it. Our scrambling quarterbacks only have like 82 speed, but that's got to be enough to get the job done. And since fullback dive clearly doesn't work, we're going to run a little bit of Wildcat instead. Just based off of what the score is right now, I'd have to argue that this is one of the best games we've played in all season. And taking a 21-0 lead, it's going to be hard for Toledo to come back. Even with as terrible as we've played ever since that moment, we still aren't trailing. And getting passive the way that we have just isn't the move. I am pretty disappointed, and before we could get off a 3rd down snap, we had a false start. So it's looking like out of this drive, we're only going to have a 5-point lead. But look at how badly our receivers just got shoved around. He didn't even know what route he was running on this play. That is exactly who I wanted to get the ball to as well. Our field goal will be straight down the middle, literally straight. But here's the problem. Toledo is moving it down the field versus us, and we got to get this sack right here, except he's just so quick. I've put quarterback contains out there for this 3rd and 3 because I expected him to take off. But we haven't won this game yet. We still have to get Toledo off of the field, and that is such a good route. You can feel our conference championship just slipping away. There they go. And on the 2-point conversion, they're actually throwing it. That surprised me, and they throw it straight to us. Hang on. We have a chance to return this right here. We just got to pick up a block. This would give us the win. Oh, no. We're not going to be fast enough. How are you getting caught by a lineman? That is why cardio is so important. Now we're in a position where I'm going to take a look over to our physical receiver. There's a reason we have someone like that on our roster, but I might have taken a sack. I am glad that we did not fumble. I really didn't know what I had in mind for that last play. Right here, we're going down. And that was honestly the last thing that we needed, though we have it. We have it. I'm not liking when they're running man-to-man coverage, though zone isn't necessarily doing us any favors either. How did we just fit that in right there? You know what? We might not be working with a backup quarterback. He could be a long-term starter. I just have to make sure that we don't miss. And that's going to give Western Michigan a MAC championship. Clayton really stepped up there at the very end. And I'm not sure if any of the other quarterbacks on our roster could have made that same throw. We've also made it back to the 68 Ventures Bowl. I wish we were ranked in the top 25. But while Toledo falls to number 14 at 10-3, we are still getting shown zero respect. Here's the unfortunate thing about our quarterback situation though. Clayton can no longer get any better unless Architect unlocks one of these skill caps. He has no mental abilities. Physically, he cannot unlock a single ability either. So I'm going to let him start for this bowl game, but I'm not sure how much of a future he actually has. That's going to be a really hard decision to make. I'm actually rooting for the quarterback that we got out of the transfer portal last year to just shoot up and become our starter. Because on paper, he does have the most potential, and we have not struggled at all versus Southern Miss. We just have speed, which is what we needed at receiver. We're starting to get so many breakaway plays like that one was right right there. And it took me so long to find some 1-stars like that, but it was definitely the best decision. With how strong we finished the season, we are going to be inside the top 25. And we're so far down the line, but it was Georgia and Oregon in the national championship. The best part about this season is all that we're losing off the roster is these two players. And don't get me wrong, at 6'3", Tyler Gomez was a great receiver for us. He gave us a big body to throw to. He was our second best statistically, but we still have Nick. We also ran the ball decently well with Logan Claiborne. I know our quarterback stats are going to look a bit split. I want to see who had the better QBR though. It's actually going to be Clayton. With less touchdowns though, I can't say that he played better, and I'm looking at this transfer portal actually thinking about going after some of these guys again. The thing is though, once I scout them, I realized that they are too slow to be a part of this team. I think Forrest could have been good a couple seasons ago, but he's going to come in at like a 50. We don't need that. So this recruiting class is going to finish with 0 players, and next year's definitely will too. Nobody else is allowed to come in, and it's about time that we start to move around these speed rushers to some other positions. For the time being, I actually just moved over the fastest one, Jaden Cormier. He's going to become an 87 overall, and our team's up to an 81. But Warren Bourne, the quarterback that has the most uncapped accuracies, didn't jump up that much in overall. Our other quarterbacks didn't either. I did move over this guy to a receiving back too, so he'd get a bit of a boost. And my biggest concern at the moment is all these receivers have already fully maxed out their skill caps. It's just kind of hard for me to imagine that we're actually going to be good enough to win a championship next year. And looking ahead at our schedule, I did put number 6 Michigan on the road on here. I wanted us to get a chance to play against a huge school. We're also going to have to face off against Toledo again. But this is the game that means the most to me. It allows us to gauge how well we can compete with the best of the best. As long as we can just get to the playoffs next year, from there it's going to be about how well I play. And I am surprised at how well things are going so far. Granted, we haven't been able to get anything more than a field goal, and you can see that their pass rush is crazy, but this will take us to the 1. And it's really going to be on our defense to keep up this level of play in the second half. Once we get out to a lead like this, we just have to rely on them to hang on to it. And like I expected, they did start to play a little bit better. Teams always do that when they go down in this game. But this is making me feel a little bit better, even though in Sim, we might not do as well. Michigan could also turn out to be a pretty bad team this year. They just have a high preseason ranking. But that doesn't change that I like what I'm seeing, and on 3rd and 2, we're going to get to the outside. From there, we've just kept up that high level of play. On 4th down, they're literally throwing it straight to us, so our corners are good enough to lock up, even if their stats aren't the best. And I feel like we're walking away from this game far more confident than we should be. I already know some MAC school is going to take us down, but look at Jaden going off. 4 sacks, and he just moved over to left end. That is why those athletes make such a big difference, though Michigan also lost to Florida State the week after, so they could still not be great. But I don't care. We're inside the top 20, and we're going to play this one at Miami, Ohio, since they're undefeated. After this, though, we're going to have to put our fate in the hands of Sim, which is pretty nerve-wracking, so we absolutely cannot lose this. As we start this second half, we're in prime position to get ourselves a 2-touchdown lead. But we're going to lose the football. Then they've marched down all the way to our 35-yard line. That's the type of unlucky stuff that we just can't be dealing with. Surely they won't get the first. But they've still been able to keep things tight ever since that moment, and that's why we need to fight here. We have to go for this on 4th and inches. There's only about a few minutes left now. We are going to get it. And I know we have struggled a lot offensively in this one, but I'm glad they haven't been able to do much either. There was holding on that play, though. And I feel like I'm better at pulling off comebacks than closing out games that we're winning, so I'm kind of nervous for these final few minutes. That was a really good play from Scotland Williamson, though. Now we're going to cut up, make it a 3rd and 2, which I would rather just throw the ball on, and that's because they're not going to guard the drag. Now, here's the thing. We cannot run out the rest of the clock, so it doesn't matter when we score. And you've got to be kidding me, man. They're hitting us with another holding penalty. These refs are trying their hardest to give Miami, Ohio a shot. And we might as well go for the touchdown instead of just trying to run out the clock. I don't really like anything right here, but we'll hit our running back and go to the 3. Now, the jet touch pass is something I don't pull out much anymore, but we have a fast receiver, 95 speed, and there's the tutty. After that, of course, it wasn't too difficult for us to close it out. But even though our defense did its job, the offense has to be better. There are multiple 4-0 teams left on our schedule, so we're just going to simulate up to the first college football playoff poll. And my guess is by the time that we get there, we're going to have at least 1 or 2 losses. Unfortunately, I was right about the 2 losses. Akron takes us down, Toledo does as well. I think those are 2 teams we have to watch for next season. We just survived against Central Michigan. And I'm I'm glad that we proved ourselves last season because now we can sit up here at number 16 in the polls. Before we started Simon, that's about where we were ranked at. Looking at our conference, we're not going to make it to the MAC championship at the moment, but we've at least gotten another 20 coach points, so we can take a whole other position group, make their overalls go up, and you know it's got to be wide receivers since we throw the ball so much. After doing that, if we end up losing to UConn, I'm going to be devastated. But there was no reason to worry. We ended up taking care of business. I think Ball State at 7-2 is the last game that I want to hop into this season, though. I feel like they have a good chance at taking us down, which, if that happens, would derail any playoff hopes that we have. I don't think it will, though. We've played pretty good in this matchup. Right here, we're still catching that with Claiborne, and Logan Claiborne is really turning into our best player. We might need to find a way to just run it more than pass. I think that's going to be the move. I'm just not exactly sure which playbook to choose. We got to get in, and if we got held on the 1-yard line, that would be devastating. Since we held them to only 10 points, though, we were always going to be okay. Our defense does it again, but they're also going to have to do it against 8-3 UMass, who's probably going to be a bigger challenge than you'd think. At the moment, though, I am happy to say that with one conference game left, it's looking like we might get into the MAC championship, which might not matter as much as I'm thinking it will since we just beat UMass. Our final game of the season is against Ohio, but no matter what happens, we are ranked number 11, and that's not going down, so even if we don't make the conference championship, I think we're in the playoffs. You have got to be kidding me, though. To make it there, we had to beat the Bobcats, and they scored 22 points in the fourth quarter. Now we're going to fall down to number 4 in our conference. We're also going to be ranked outside the top 12, and I don't want to play Southern Miss in another bowl game. By the way, if you're wondering, Michigan finished inside the top 5. They had 3 losses, and we were one of them at the Big House. A 1-point loss is the reason that we're not getting our first ever playoff appearance, but thank goodness we're going to have back this exact same team next year, and they should be even better. The only reason that the 10-year time frame's a problem right now is we haven't had enough time to level up our coach to max out the tactician tree. But besides that, this roster is clearly as good as it's ever going to get with just 1-star prospects, and on the final play of the half, we're short of end zone. We're already up 20-0. I just wanted to run up the score, which we really don't have much of a reason to do since our defense holds teams to such low amounts of points. Southern Miss is only getting 7. All we've done is won another bowl game. I think that's like our 4th straight, but I wanted to get into the playoffs. And I also want J. Scotland Williamson to improve. Statistically, he seems fine. This isn't a terrible stat line since he didn't have any injuries this year, though if more touchdowns would have been nice, Logan Claiborne could hit 1,000 rushing yards next year. And I'm really wondering if we should change our playbook to something else. It is nice to see Miami, Ohio have success over Auburn. They made it to the semifinals, which just shows that we could have done that since we beat them. We have to say goodbye to Clint Teamer, though, and Alex Tiffin. They're the only 2 seniors graduating. And I might have overdone it with all these speed rushers. We still have 7 of them to move around, but that's not the only thing I'm worried about in position changes. I think I'm also going to get some of these quarterbacks different tendencies. I was also super hopeful that some of these physical receivers could have developed into something so we could throw up jump balls, but they've maxed out their skill caps at a 65 overall. And without tactician boost, Mo Chestnut is just a 61 overall, so we're going to give him a go at tight end. I also think we're going to do that with Malachi Ricks. This kid is 6'4", 200 pounds, and he actually becomes a better tight end than receiver. This is why it's important to move around your players. We now have a 76 overall tight end with 50-50 as an ability. That's one of my favorites, though I'm pretty sure his skill caps are going to be maxed either way. Pretty close, though his blocking could still go up. I still don't understand all the overall jumps you can get by moving players around, because with even East, he goes up to an 83 overall at right tackle. And I might just make this move so we can have a higher overall, because we can put George, our left tackle, at tight end, but he'd only be used in running situations. There was a lot of thought that went into every position change I did. It's time to see our training results, though. We're going to be an 87 overall team. That's about what I was expecting. It could be an 88 or an 89 with tactician boosts, but we just haven't been leveling up fast, and I think I can still get our overall to raise if I cut some of these bad players. Getting rid of them fixed things a little bit. We're now sitting at an 89 with only a couple players over an 89 overall. And the quarterback room's actually pretty interesting, because although pretty much everybody else stayed the same, Mohammed took a step forward because of that archetype tree. His accuracy got better, and he also has 95 throw power. His speed is sitting at 80, so it's not the worst in the world. I made him a field general so he could get a few abilities too. So that's what we're rocking with there. We've also seen a huge jump up from Marcus Lee to our best receiver. He's the other kid with 95 speed I recruited. While at the tight end position, and then also our offensive line, for the most part, the best players that we have actually have the tendency power, even though I recruited them a season later. Why that's important is I think with Logan Claiborne being an 88 overall, we're going to run the ball. But I still have to be cautious. I don't want him to get injured. He's only 5'7". If he gets too many carries, he is just going to be out, but he does have some pretty good stats. With that in mind, we're going to use the Syracuse playbook. I feel like they seem to always do pretty well throughout Sim. And our schedule does have a couple top 25 teams on it. We have to play at UMass. We also have to play against Miami, Ohio, but that is it. I'm glad we started inside the top 25, but everything I've done throughout this entire video comes down to 1 year. And every time I simulate, there's a chance our playoff hopes could be shattered. 23-20 is just too close. Come to think of it, maybe the playbook switch wasn't the best decision in the world. But at least we took down Temple, and then we had our freebie game on the schedule that we almost lost. We cannot be struggling against an FCS school whenever we need to win a championship. If I don't enjoy using Syracuse's playbook, especially at number 13 UMass, we're going straight back to Oregon's. And I don't care if we're throwing the ball 100 times a game to low overall receivers. I just want to win. Even though we've had these dudes around in the program forever, everything about this team feels new. And I think that's because of our quarterback switch, but if we're using Wildcat, we don't even need a QB. I'm glad that Syracuse still has that in their playbook. Right here, we are going to scramble for the first. And I know he only is 80 speed, but I don't care. He can still be effective. Right here, we're just juking. Funny enough, it's been our defense that's been the issue in this one. You're not running for a touchdown. And it would be beautiful if they didn't hit this field goal, but they do. It's been interesting to see their defensive strategy. Right here, I could tell that they were going to press. So we know that we have the speed to take the top off of their defense out of the slot. And we might as well blitz them on 4th and 1. See if we can get the stop. We don't. I don't know how they had that much time to get a pass out. Pretty embarrassing from them, but they're just immediately running. And I'm not a fan of how close it's been against UMass, but we don't get the onside kick. This one's not over. I was about to say, at least we're going to close this out, but now we have to get a defensive stop versus them. They just keep on going. And I could not think of a worse way for this game to end for us. Why do we have to be put in this position? With a minute left on the clock, at least whenever they score, because I can tell they're going to. We would have time to rally back, but now they're taking some time off of the clock, so they trust themselves to get into the end zone. We have to use timeouts. They just used their final one for whatever reason. Right here, they're throwing it on the run. And I just can't believe we didn't recover the onside kick. Yup, get the 2-pointer. This is the type of stuff that makes it so hard to win with 1-stars. And I can't even audible to the stuff I want to audible to because we're playing on the road, though we might actually have them right here. Keep on running. We deserve this. I don't care at all. We're going to actually burn some time off the clock because they'll somehow score a touchdown in like 15 seconds. But that should do it right there. They should have learned a lesson when it came to pressing. We cannot play as bad as we did in that game, though, defensively versus anybody else because we're not going to have that good of an offensive game against most teams. I think, if anything, I should spend some coach points making our defensive line better. I can't believe I ignored them out of the tactician tree all this time. And I'm just waiting to keep on leveling up. We should be able to win this one in sim. It doesn't make me feel any better, though, that it was 26-23. Looking at the rest of our schedule at the moment, the best two teams are at the end. It's Toledo and Miami University. I really don't want to sim all the way until then. We'll probably sim until the first college football playoff poll. With where we're ranked, we can't afford to lose one game. But I'm pretty sure our win over UMass is not going to have the same weight that our win over Michigan did last year, which is why we stayed so high in the poll. Anyway, advancing to week 10, we have still not lost a game, which is big. Even Central Michigan didn't beat us, though it was an 8-point one. Bowling Green and Miami University have the same record, but only one of them is near us up here in the conference standings, so I feel like we should face off against the Falcons. By this point, there really should be no reason that we would lose to them, but for whatever reason, I still just cannot trust this team. We seem to be pretty good at getting the win, but they're always tighter than they need to be. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but after we got to 14 points, we have not been able to score again until right now. Apparently, we missed the extra point though, which is just great. I literally recruited a kicker for us to miss an extra point. We should have just kept on using the walk-ons. Here on 4th and 6, they didn't have anyone open, which has put us in a decent position to close this one out. Really just needing a few first downs and we're good. After losing 3 yards on a carry though, I kind of want to see what we can do on 2nd and 13. I saw they were pressing, and Marcus Lee is just too quick. That was a much better way to close this game out. And maybe switching over to Muhammad was the smart decision all along. If you haven't noticed by now though, if I don't know how to say a player's last name, I just won't, because I don't want to butcher it so bad to the point where it sounds disrespectful. But if he's going to be our guy, I got to come up with a nickname at least or something. Ohio has beaten us in recent years, so I'm a bit nervous about Simmon. I don't care they're 3-6. I've seen what they've done to us before, and when I saw championship contender drop down, I thought we lost. I was going to be upset, but actually our ranking just dropped. Apparently the committee wasn't too impressed with our 15-10 win. And I know that part of your ranking in this game is calculated by your blue chip ratio, 4 and 5 star recruits, which we're clearly going to have 0% of. But putting us down here at number 11, dropping 3 spots, just feels disrespectful. I'm starting to think that if we lose one game, we're not making it to the playoffs. So it doesn't matter where we're sitting in these conference standings, we have no choice but to win out. That puts a lot of pressure on us for this game, especially since we're having to play it at Toledo. And I just don't like how this game has gone. We have somehow only been able to put up 10 points in this one. We have our tight end open. He's actually going to hang on to the ball. But that's the former offensive lineman. We should not have been able to catch that so easily. We probably still need to sub him out if we're able to get to the playoffs, just since his catching's at a 58. But this is why we need formation subs too, because he helps us run the ball well. We should have good blocks over there. What was he doing? Now, this could be a very brain-dead decision, but we're going for it on 4th and 3. They can't guard everything. Our flat was open over there. And I'm taking how we close out this game extremely seriously. If 2 clock is on, there's going to be a reason for it. Look at the speed. We're in the crib. That's like our 3rd string running back. What is he doing out there? Evidently, Niles needs to get some more carries, so that's what we're going to do. Some amazing blocking until he got in our way. But I'm starting to wonder if we're dealing with an injury. That is not a good sign, though. Here we go. Syracuse playbook is paying off. That's the ball game right there. Toledo couldn't stop the clock enough times to get it back after that, so we're going to win. But Miami, Ohio could be the one team that stands between us and a spot in the playoffs. I just can't catch a break, though. We have fallen to the Redhawks. We're down to number 14, and that's going to make winning the MAC championship extremely important. Even then, depending on playoff rankings, we might not get in. We only lost by 2. I figured that happened at some point, just not after we won 11 games. And taking a look at the current top 25, what is UMass doing up here at number 1? That's actually a quality win for us, but there are so many teams playing in conference championships as well, including FAU. Just taking a look at all these matchups, it looks like no matter what, we are going to be the 5th team in if we win, unless FAU somehow jumped us. That wouldn't make sense if they did, though. And here we go. All 10 years of this rebuild could go to waste if we don't win this matchup. That is the way I'm looking at this game right now. I am extremely nervous. And I just don't get what's wrong with this team. With 2 minutes left, there is no reason that we should only have 3 points. There are some games where we play well offensively, not many this season though. Right here, we're getting a pretty big run. Oh, good little spin too. But I can just tell they're going to give up a touchdown. Based off of their coverage right here, there's no way that they can guard all those routes. I thought they caught that. We might be able to close this one out and move on to the playoffs, but I've learned something. I don't think I can play the moments. I don't think I can super sim. I might have to play every single snap. These 1 stars just need me super badly. On 3rd and 8, we cannot be marked short. I don't think we will be. And that is the game right there. We are literally just going to settle for 3. I have no shame at all in doing that. We're going to hit this field goal as time runs out. And there you have it. What has to be the lowest scoring MAC championship, unless you're looking back at scores from like 1920. If this game factored in our performance in this matchup in the polls, we wouldn't even be in the playoffs. But I can see how UMass was so good. Their quarterback won the Heisman with 50 passing touchdowns. Our first round matchup is going to be against the Minutemen, and that kind of feels like a bailout, though looking at this bracket, we'd have to play SEC champion Oklahoma in the quarterfinals, and that's no fun. At least we finally got in, though. Checking out our season stats, we did run the ball for almost 1,000 yards. That was our goal with Logan Claiborne. It clearly worked if this is the best season we've ever had. But now we have to beat UMass the second time. They averaged 13 more points per game than us, and I have a feeling it could be a bit of a struggle. We are ready for this moment, though. It's not the first time that we've played them on their field. We know that we can beat them in this stadium. We just happened to get off to a really rough start, and now we're looking for the end zone right here, which we're catching. There's way too much time left to be worried yet, but I don't like that approaching halftime, we are still at just 7 points. We're gonna have to get lucky right here. Hope that 13 isn't able to keep up with Marcus Lee. But even then, if UMass is gonna continue to score, it's not going to matter that much. We're trying to pick up at least a first down off of this play. And I'm not upset with how our offense is playing at the moment. It just could be better. Our defense was always my main concern, though. We have yet to see it have much success, at least in these big games. And on 3rd down, their man-to-man coverage is sticking. We probably shouldn't be going for this right here. I ran straight into him. And the longer it's gone on for, the worse it is looking for us. On 4th and 6, I don't even know why we're trying to get this to work, but it does. And I just full on panicked right there. I don't know how we've gotten that lucky. Please tell me that we're going to have a touchdown and we're not out of this yet. I feel like all of our scores have come off a man-to-man coverage pressing. So that's the look that we need to see, but then they just drive it down the field versus us. And look at how quick their quarterback is. What do I do? If they're able to get in right here, this game is just over. And you best believe I am run committing. I trust our run D. We're good. Now, whether or not they hit this kick is a pretty big deal. They do. Which is why I'm going to do my best to save all 3 of our timeouts. Hang on. We have Marcus Lee again, and this is something that I wish we took advantage of the entire game. It might be too late for us. You know my favorite 2-point conversion play now. We're going to be able to pick this up. But here's the thing. If they get into field goal range, none of this matters, and they catch the ball. It is now 3rd and 6. I figured they would probably run it out of just pure conservatism, and I'm not even sure if it's a word, but we got the stop on a 4th and inches. That is where they spotted it. Please give me at least a block or 2 here so we have a chance to get the return, and it's been done. We have our opportunity. We still have 2 of our timeouts remaining. So all we have to do is make sure that we get into field goal range, and I'll keep on going back to the check down. On this next one, it looks like they are going to run with some man-to-man coverage. We are able to get out of bounds, but there were some zones hanging out around there, making me a little bit nervous. We just got to keep on moving. We have set ourselves up pretty nicely. We're going to center things up for this kick, and all the failures, the terrible reads aren't going to matter because we are still going to escape with this game. I think this is more progress than what we had the last time I did the 1-star rebuild with Air Force. I'm pretty sure we lost our first playoff matchup, but if we're going to win a championship, we have to win 3 more. What we really still need to figure out is whether or not Marcus Lee can get open versus press coverage against better corners, because I'm pretty sure the Sooners are going to have much better ones than UMass did. Though I'm happy to say that before this game, we leveled up, so we are able to make sure our defensive line is getting all the stat boosts. I also want to take a look into Marcus Lee's stats. He has impact development, but this kid's only 5'8", 93 release. That could have something to do with why he's able to get open so much, paired with his 95 speed. But I would have rather played Syracuse, Arizona State, Maryland. We got the best conference championship winner, at least by overall. We might be 10 years deep in this dynasty, but Oklahoma's going to be an 89. And I will say, EA did a good job with this game in making sure that the bigger schools don't fall off the farther you get. Now, when it comes to our first drive in this game, we are down to the 9-yard line. The blocks are looking pretty good. We need to get around that one defender, and this is a dream way to open up the game. I like the run that we just found, but it's not enough. I figured it wouldn't take them long to score. It actually only took them 3 plays, though we can come back to get this ball. That's a former lineman, and we'll see whether or not we get a man-to-man coverage look right here. We have a touchdown. I don't know how they got that confused, but I'm glad I didn't just stare down one receiver for once. What has really surprised me the most is we've continued to play at a high level throughout this entire first half. And now that Oklahoma isn't scoring as often, it's not looking great for them. We get the 3rd down. Obviously, there is still a lot of time left, but we're gonna probably finish this drive off. And even if we don't, we're gonna have a 3-possession lead. They just got instant pressure. At least it's not gonna end up making a difference like at all, though. They have literally only scored 7 points in this game. They shouldn't have gotten this 4th down. They didn't. And I am not going to question the decision-making of that call. Out of Wildcat, we're going to keep on running up the score if we could get around him. But either way, we just controlled this entire matchup, and it was never close. We might actually have a real shot at winning it all. But I'm starting to think that where a team's rank determines how good they're going to play, which is scary for playing the Sun Devils. They're undefeated, 14-0. They just beat Georgia, and they're the number 2 team in the country. We already had to play number 1 UMass. And that one was much closer than the one we just played against Oklahoma, so this could go bad. I have to put some faith in all those 1-stars out there, though, that have carried us this far. And you can already tell that this one's going to be a close one the entire matchup. That's a good pass. But I don't think I'm going to feel comfortable with any lead until it's at least like 3 possessions right here. We can't make him miss. Claiborne's got himself a pretty good juke as well. I actually used it instead of a spin move. And I cannot stress how nice it would be if we finish this first half off with a touchdown. We probably have 2 very quick plays left. I actually like the way that they were pressing us right there. We're going to aggressive catch. And here we go. 3rd and 10. I'm going to thread it up the middle, and we're going to drop it. You know, of all the places to put that ball, that was probably the worst place I could have, but it's still been a very respectable first half. And I just think it's hilarious that they're going to put Marcus Lee in one-on-one press situations. We can take that all day. There's a reason that we are in the position that we're in at the moment. It's because we're playing the way that we need to. And frankly, Arizona State just doesn't have the offense to compete. Maxing out our defensive line stats using the tactician tree was the best thing we could have done. They've literally thrown it straight to us on 4th down, and it's over. I really thought that the Sun Devils were going to make it hard for us to get to the national championship, but I don't think they expected Logan Claiborne to perform this well, because even I didn't think he'd do this. It's going to win him National Offensive Player of the Week, but now we get to see who we're facing. I'm pretty sure it was Notre Dame and Oregon on the other side of the bracket. The Irish won. And actually, as I'm filming this, they're about to start playing in the national championship game versus Ohio State. I have noticed that they are undefeated, though. I am not sure how they were ranked below UMass. That doesn't really make much sense to me. To be honest, this is the team that we probably should have had to face in the first round. But with how the rankings work, we have made it to this game, and I don't think I'm going to like anything on 3rd down. We're getting held to a 3 and out. That is how this one started for us. They keep on getting us in these situations. We're dropping it. And there is only so much that we can do. If we can hold them to a field goal, I'd be happy with that. But as we approach the end of this first quarter, it's 10-0. I really don't know how we're going to be able to move the ball in this game. Right here, we might actually have a chance to catch it. We don't, but it was literally put exactly where it needs to be. We're trying to run it too. That's not going well. And I think we're just going to keep on falling behind by more, though right here they didn't have a quarterback spy. Thank you. We are already suffering quite a bit of wear and tear damage. That's not a good throw. But I feel like putting the ball in the air is the only thing that we can do in this situation. We're going to have to come back for this one and catch it. What are you doing? This sums up pretty well what I have been dealing with all video though. We're gonna have to go for it on 4th down to stay in this. I just refuse to punt it back to them and risk falling behind 20-0. We're actually gonna hit our route and catch it. And if there is any chance of us still being in this game in the 4th quarter, it's gonna be because of this drive. Once again, I have a plan. We're gonna take our drag immediately. They're not guarding it. But we also need to find a way to get Logan Claiborne going, and right here, I probably missed the hole. I can just tell that he is gonna fumble at some point though, the way that they are hitting him, which is a bit concerning, but we're gonna get close. Can we please just score against the Irish? Block that defensive tackle. How hard is it? I'm going to the other side. We better get a 3rd quarterback sneak. That drive alone stressed me out so much, it probably took a year off of my life just for us to still be losing. But do you know what I like? With 37 seconds left in the half, we have the ball and we're catching it. That could have easily been an interception, but at least it wasn't. We're also still standing, so there's got to be a little bit of hope right now that we could take a lead before the end of this 1st half. Man-to-man coverage? Come on. To be honest, that's on me. It's a coaching decision for the tight end that we have out there on the field. And we know that quarterback sneak doesn't work right here, so maybe this run will. That is not the case though. 6 seconds left in the half. I think I should just throw this one away. And I was originally going to take our 3, but I always miss it from this hash mark, so Wildcat's going to get us into the end zone. You know what? We had a slow start in this game, but we're going to have a lead at halftime. And this is such an important matchup, so I will be kicking our extra points instead of simming them. I have experienced too many times where we just miss it for no reason. But they did open up this 2nd half with a touchdown, which means we're down by 5, and that's not enough. I'm so gonna regret this play call. It's 4th and 1. We shouldn't be going for it. What am I thinking? That's just being a little bit too aggressive, even though I hate punting in those situations. We've held them to 3, but it feels like we've just lost control of this in the 3rd quarter. I really wish I could say that the run was going better for us, but it literally was not even there, and there's a flag. There's a flag. We have been bailed out. It's important to note, our tight end did not run where he was supposed to. And if we're not going to run the ball well either way, it's actually worth it to put in Malachi Ricks. But if they didn't throw that flag, this would be a much different game. And there's Malachi Ricks already making a difference. Look at him. So inspirational, man. I am glad that we converted him over from wide receiver. And there it is. That's the slot mismatch we're looking for. Now, we've already run this play once, but I don't know what else to call for the 2-point conversion. We should have enough speed. Come on, Claiborne, get there. This whole game's been filled with gutsy calls already. I feel like that summarizes the rebuild too. I mean, look at this. What do you want me to do? We just give up free touchdowns all the time. I am not going to miss playing with 1-star recruits. That is for sure. This is a rebuild challenge I don't think I ever want to attempt again, even if we don't end up winning the championship. There are parts of it that are an enjoyable experience, but some parts are also not very fun at all. I will say though, we've continued to run the ball in the 4th quarter, and it's actually there this time. Logan Claiborne's starting to get hot, and we will not get burnt deep on this play. I have everybody backed up as far as they can go. They are literally just slinging it straight at us. I'm getting the interception. I had to click on to make the play. I didn't trust us. Okay, here we go. It's the 3rd time they're seeing this Wildcat play, but we have to give it one more go. And I truthfully thought that we were about to break off a touchdown run there instead of what just happened, though I think we can force this to the sideline. It's just so frustrating missing all of these passes. They've gotten instant pressure. And they scored a touchdown in one play. It's not looking good for us. We can't even have a halfback screen work. So literally everything is just falling apart whenever we need to clutch up. Hold on to it. I refuse to punt it back to them now and watch them run out the rest of the clock because we can't stop the run, which is why we just went for that right there. And why we should have a touchdown on this play. Please tell me it's not overthrown. We're good. Notre Dame is the final boss of this 1-star only challenge. We're at the 5 now. We're at the 4. And knowing the type of reads I make in these situations, I wish we could just run it in. It's okay though. We will go to the air. We will trust hitting our drag to make it closer. Never mind. And I have a couple receivers I could throw here, but it also might just turn into a situation where I try to run it in myself. That's what we're doing, and we have enough. Unfortunately, though, it took them no time to move it down the field. And they're definitely in field goal range. We're there for the run, except they've cut it up, and we almost need to let them get in if we still want a chance. That honestly feels terrible, but it's what we had to do right there. I don't want to throw this because I could just tell everyone was getting locked up, and right here, we're going to let the time run more. We've had no interceptions in this game. It's really just been a defensive struggle. I'm not sure if picking it up there was worth it. We got to start going for some bigger plays. We only have one of our timeouts left, which is concerning. I literally can't change anything. I want us to have a chance to get out of bounds. No! I've thrown a pick. It's over. It's over. All of the effort It doesn't matter. He looked like it was open too. That's the worst part about it. Here's the thought process. Once he cleared that defender, I threw a bullet pass to the right side of the field, and he just kept running behind the defender before the ball came. I don't understand the logic. It was supposed to be placed to the other hash mark, and he would have run under it past this guy, but it just didn't go there. I really don't think I'm going to come any closer to completing the challenge than this. We had a bunch of stuff go our way. I felt like we got pretty lucky. And even with all that in mind, though the 10 years went well, it was not perfect the way it needed to be. This team has let down America. We did well, just not good enough. I really don't know what else I could have done differently though. We had a quarterback that was clearly good enough. He did most of this in sims. Same on the rushing side. Receiving wise, I found the fastest I could, but we never got overalls very high. And defensively, with the tactician boost, most of these players are pretty good. The one positions that didn't get that boost was our linebackers, so maybe we need to level up a few more times. Or maybe there needed to be a new method to find better cornerbacks. I mean, this was the best we could do speed-wise, but statistically, capping out around an 80 is not good. You know what? It is what it is. This is a better run than our last attempt. And if this video hits an insane number of likes, like 10,000, maybe I'll run it back on College Football 25, but if not, we're gonna have to run it back on College Football 26 like a year from now.